So the question today is, why do all politicians lie? Why do they all have a degree in BS, whether they're British or whether they're Americans? What a state we're in because of their lies. And why do we keep falling for them? Why do we end up in one tribe or another? Why don't we just say, look, if their lips are moving, they're bullshitting. End of story. Prime example is what's happening at the moment in Britain. Why are the two people who beat up a policewoman in Manchester airport, why are they still not on trial? Today, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice are taking out a private prosecution against them to get them in court. That's the CPS's job, the Crown Prosecution Service. But they've done nothing so far. Why? I'll tell you why. It's because the authorities, the establishment, the politicians, our supreme leader in particular, are scared of Muslims. Now, that's racist, that statement. Not me making the statement, but their attitude is. We've got two-tier judicial system in this country and a two-tier judicial law and order system. The police have been two-tier for ages. Look at the way they deal with people like the Stop Oil protesters. Do they lock them up? Do they pull and rip their hands off the tarmac when they glue themselves to it? No. Do they buggery? They go skateboarding with them, or they wear rainbow laces. This is nonsense. One law for all. But the politicians lie. So at the moment, we've got a situation where those two guys at Manchester Airport allegedly beat up a policewoman and another copper. They allege, the police, and there's a video supporting it, there's a video of the coppers being a bit rough with them. Well, the only way we're going to find out what really happened is by getting them in a court of law. And why haven't we? And I say it's because they're Muslim. And the authorities are scared that the community will kick off. Well, why would they? And that's a racist or an Islamist or a religionist assumption to make. We need to stop this nonsense. Those two thugs, if they are indeed thugs, need to be in a court of law. I applaud Tice and Farage for trying to sort it out. By the same token, this weekend we've had a farce about the Southport Massacre. There were riots after what happened in Southport, and now it looks like Starmer might have known more than he let on. Well, he certainly would have known about the ricin plot and the terror manual being found at the main suspect's house. He would have known that within days. I said this on October the 29th in one of my podcasts. Oh, by the way, welcome to the John Gaunt podcast, and thanks for making it so successful. Keep supporting me, won't you? But anyway, I said on the 29th of October that there was something wrong about this case. Why wouldn't he have known a day or two afterwards that these materials, that had been all over that kid's house? And we had the nonsense, didn't we, where they said, oh, he's a minor, so we can't name him. Then they said, oh, we can name him because he is the right age in a day or two's time. Even so they've named him. But have you seen a picture of him as a grown-up? There's that picture of him in Doctor Who, isn't he? This is the suspect. But there's no picture otherwise. There's the artist's impressions, which is about as much use as a chocolate fireguard because he's pulled his jumper over his head. Are we meant to believe that he walked into court with the jumper pulled up like Smithy out of Beano over his head? Of course he didn't. Why isn't there an artist's picture of him? Is it because he's got a beard? I'm just asking the question. I want this guy to have a fair trial. And I think it's perfectly right to ask the question, when did Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper know about the ricin? I said this on the 29th of October, and I'm repeating it now. They knew. Why didn't they tell us? That is not going to affect 12 good men in true when this lad, this man, comes to court, is it? We have a right to know. And the people of Southport definitely have a right to know. If there was ricin being manufactured, don't they have to know about their safety? Why is this kid being protected. Now, as I say, over the weekend, and we've all got to be a bit careful here, please be careful in your comments about this. Over the weekend, there were wild accusations flying around. Now, the only way to stop these accusations, and it does look like one of them is definitely wrong, is for Keir Starmer to make a clear statement. A bit like Lord Carlisle, the terrorism expert, said after the initial massacre, that the vacuum left because they didn't say anything straight away. And his own terrorism czar said this as well. He should have said something, because then that would stop the hotheads and the racists and the thugs from saying, oh, he's a Muslim, he's just arrived on a boat, etc., when they didn't know that. But they didn't, did they? And then there were the riots. I'm not saying this caused the riots, but then I'm saying if you look at cause and effect, the riots happened. A lot of people got sent straight away to prison. They didn't really get the chance to go on remand because they knew that would be another third on their sentence, or a third not off their sentence. So an awful lot of people gone to prison. Now, some of them, out and out thugs who wanted to burn the hotels down, of course. But the people who were just making comments, well, I'm not so sure. What do you think? But the question is, let's get him in court. It's now going to be January, although they're now saying it may well be delayed further from there. And then going back to the Manchester two, why aren't they in court? If we could get the kids and the yobs, as Keir Starmer described them, don't forget, he basically said the white working class of this country were racist thugs. If he can get them in court within a day or two and in prison within a week, why can't we do that with the Manchester airport attackers? What's the difference? I'm just looking at my phone. What is the difference? We need to know. We need to know why this is happening. Am I right or wrong? Please get in touch with me on Twitter, John Gaunt, do you see my name there? Or on Facebook. And if you like this video, if you're watching this video on YouTube, don't forget to press the like button, please, and subscribe button, and subscribe to these podcasts. Then you get them all. Eventually, everything is going to be on video, but we're getting there slowly but surely with your help. So again, we've got a vacuum, an information vacuum, and there are wild rumors flying around. But can we speak to Starmer about this? No, he's off again. He's gone down to Rio de Janeiro. You couldn't make this shit up. He's gone down to, is it the G20, the G50? I don't know what it is. But he's down there with the leader of China, the leader of America, President Biden, who I don't think he knows he's there, but he is there, and other world leaders. But what's the point of a G20 summit when in 63, just 63 days, count it, Trump is going to be the president? He's going to be in charge. It's ridiculous that the most powerful man, the leader of the free world, it's not Biden. He's not been in control for ages. And by the same token, how ridiculous that Biden's been allowed to say that Zelensky in Ukraine can now effectively bomb Russia. This man is senile. He can't even control his own bowel movements by the look of it. How can he be in control of the world? It's World War III if we're not careful. And I'm sorry, he isn't that far gone. He knows what he's doing. He's doing this to stitch up Trump, because Trump has said, I'm going to solve Ukraine within one day. Now, obviously, that's hyperbole, isn't it? It's hyperbolic what he's saying. Some would say it's complete bollocks. He won't do it in a day, but he is going to try and get peace. He's already spoken to Putin, allegedly, although now Putin's saying he hasn't. Look, the sooner we get, whether you like Trump or not, the sooner we get him in power, so at least we have got somebody in control of the United States, the better. It can't be a good idea to say to Zelensky, on you go, you can use the weapons. And it's going to get worse because Starmer wants him to use our weapons as well. So no doubt a deal will be stitched up over these next couple of days. But I say Biden hasn't got a mandate anymore. I would also argue that perhaps Starmer after the first 100 days of his reign, hasn't got much of a mandate either. I know he's got the votes, but he only got voted because the Tories were terrible. Everybody hated the Conservatives, myself included. But his government is a complete and utter mess. Starmer is running away from I know he's got to be a statesman, but he's running away from the situation. He's got more flipping air miles than Judith Chalmers in her heyday. There's one for the oldies. It's true, though. He's constantly on a plane. Is he not happy at home? Or is he just trying to get value out of all those freebie suits from Lord Ali? I don't know. But I think where he should be at the moment is here. What's the point of going to a G20? No matter what you decide, it won't go any further. We used to have this professor, Jocelyn, his name was, Professor Jocelyn Power, when I was studying drama at Birmingham. We used to have staff-student meetings, and he used to come in. It was as camp as, I don't know what. And he'd say, and the envy, he'd get fed up, and he'd go, I tell you what, you just decide what you want to do, and then I'll just do whatever I fucking want because I'm the professor. And then he'd mince out. Well, it's going to be a bit like that with Trump, isn't it? Trump's going to say, what, you decided what? 63 days ago? Oh, did you? Oh, right. Well, I've got a meeting with Putin tomorrow, and I've got a meeting with Zelensky. And Zelensky, you're going to cede the ground that you've already lost. Putin, that's enough now. No more. Let's have a bit of peace, jaw, not war, and on we go. And hopefully then he's going to do a similar sort of thing in the Middle East. But no, Starmer's there, meeting the Chinese leader, the foul tyrant, the despot, the dictator, loving it, lording it up. He needs to clean his £2,500 pair of spectacles, courtesy of Lord Ali, and see the mess at home, see what is left behind, and also deal with these rumours. Because these rumours are really scary. And I'll tell you one thing, Keir Starmer, it is a powder keg. And what we saw earlier in the summer could easily happen again on a bigger scale. I'm not threatening it. I'm just saying it could. And the only way to stop that, as Lord Carlisle says, and your own terrorisms are, is not to leave an information vacuum. But that's what's happening. And I can only think they're dragging their feet because it's this Muslim question. It's like the Chris Cabba, the killing of that black gangster by an armed police officer. Look at that. Some people are almost in mourning, not for Cabba, but for the fact the police were found not guilty. Did you hear that word? Not guilty. They didn't murder him. It wasn't a state execution, as that stupid little crapper rapper said. Absolutely not. But we don't need two-tier justice, but two-tier all the free gear. Keir Starmer seems to delight in it, which I find really odd, as he was the boss of the Crown Prosecution Service. Oh, yeah, that's the same organisation that's not got these two lads in Manchester before a court yet, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Are they the same people who may be delaying the young lad in Southport as well? What possible good does it do to British society not getting these three in court? So we can decide, or 12 good men and true can decide whether they're guilty or not. I think just dragging it out makes it worse. And now this thing about Rwanda, and I'm being very careful what I say, and I need you to be just as careful in your comments. It needs sorting. Are you with me? Meanwhile, on the other hand, you got journalists like Alison Pearson, who I've told you before, I've done telly with her, and I don't really rate her. I'm not a mate of hers, or any of that. I'm not a mate of any of those commentary people. But it seems that she made a tweet. They wouldn't even tell her what it was. And this is very much like George Orwell. I think it's 1984, where you get arrested for something. You say, well, that's not a crime, is it? Oh, it is now. Oh, when was that made a crime? Today. Well, when did I commit the offence? Last week. You still committed the offence. You're guilty. And that can't happen. It can't happen. And this idea that somebody can say something. There's one today about a little kid. He said to another kid, 9-year-old, he said, "Oi, you smell a fish." Well, kids say things like that, don't they? And maybe the kid did smell a fish. I don't know. And He took offence at this, the kid and his parents, and so now the police are investigating it as a possible hate crime. Get a flipping life, people, and get out of ours. This is what's got to stop. But this is what Starmer is propagating. I'm not saying the Tories didn't do it. They started all this woke nonsense. But we need a leader who gets on top of it. We need a war on woke. But we're not going to get that with Starmer, are we? We're just not. We're just not. And I tell you what, I despair. And he's away. He's gone off to Rio. And that's the other thing. He's taken 450 plus people with him. Why? Why does he need all those people? Has he not heard of a thing called Zoom or StreamYard, like I'm using to broadcast today? Doesn't have to be done in person. And as I say, whatever's decided, and they never decide anything anyway, Trump is just going to run roughshod over it. Because Trump is the democratically elected leader by a landslide of the free world. And if you think, oh, yeah, but they're not all going to just do what Trump says. Oh, really? Have you seen the way Starmer can almost brush Trump's teeth from the inside. He's so far up him, yeah? And so are the other leaders. Even Lammy is praising him. See, and that goes on to Starmer's government. What a bunch of no-marks he's surrounded by. Did you see Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor? It turns out she's fiddled her CV. What she wrote on her CV, she said she was an economist at the Bank of England and the Bank of Scotland, and she wasn't. She was one step up from basically ordering the paper clips. Now, I think she's a bit higher than that, but you understand what I mean. Now, I don't know if you've ever altered your CV. I mean, I've never had to have a CV, to be honest. I'd have to erase loads of stuff, sacked. Anyway, but it's an offence, isn't it? If you get a job based on a CV which is false, aren't they at liberty just to sack you? I'd have to ask my friend Lucy, who works in HR. But I think you would get the sack. But Starmer is dodging the questions. I think she should resign. Rachel Reeves is not fit for the job. Put aside the fact she obviously knows F all about economics. Her budget was economically illiterate. Even I could see that. Mr. Bankrupt himself, it was all ridiculous. And then she's hammered students. She's hammered old people. Now they want to hammer the farmers. All this trouble with the farmers. Big demo in London tomorrow. Where's Starmer? No, he isn't there. Starmer's in Rio. He's probably been in Rio longer than Ronnie Biggs if he's not careful. I'd quite like him to be in other places where Ronnie Biggs has been, and the way the stories are developing, oh, who knows? But he's not going to be with the farmers. He's going to be in Rio talking nonsense. He needs to sort the farmers out. Her economic illiteracy has meant that farmers are going to pay this duty. Now, even if you agree with the inheritance tax, which I don't, but if you did, it's hardly going to raise anything. It's a spit in the overall budget. Why do you want to take the farmers on? It's a bit like, why did you want to take on the old age pensioners and steal 10 million people's winter fuel allowance? Why did you want to do that? Two-tier care. Is it nice and warm in Rio? I understand it is. I was watching telly earlier. It looked like it was boiling. Pity those old ladies and old gents as this big cold front comes in. You've seen the weather forecast here. The first deaths will happen after this weekend, and it's on you, two-tier care, and your Chancellor. She's probably as bad at adding up as Diane Abacus Abbott. Why have you surrounded yourselves with buffoons? Why? Come back to this in a moment. Just a little quick ad. You know the way I'm funding these podcasts at the moment. It's through a thing called buymeacoffee.com. If you want to contribute something, anything from $5 upwards, it all helps. Just go to www.buymeacoffee.com. You'll see it at the end of the podcast. It's on all the literature. Buymeacoffee.com /John Gaunt. and donate whatever you can. Many people donate 15 quid, 20 quid. Some people have been going crazy and giving me 10 coffees, which is 50 quid, or 20 coffees, which is 100 quid, whatever you can afford. It has slowed down recently. I'm going to be honest with you, but I do need this money because, as you can see, we're now starting to do videos. We're now trying to develop it. I want to get guests on soon as well. And at the moment, I'm doing, this is my daughter's kitchen, by the way, because I'm down dog sitting again. I was dog sitting last night while they went to see Monty Don, but they had a good night. It was their Christmas present from me. Well, my wife's Lisa's Christmas present. They had a great time and I dog sat. But I would like you to support me. buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. And then obviously we're hoping to get the YouTube channel going and we're hoping to get sponsors and advertisers. And as a result of that, we'll have less emphasis on you having to donate. But if you could help in the short term, it would really help me. Thank you very much indeed. www.buymeacoffee.com. So anyway, I was telling you about Rachel Reeves. She's got to go. I tell you who else has got to go. I think David Lammy should have gone last week with the filth he's been coming out with about Trump. But he won't last much past Christmas. Although the way things are going, two-tier Kia isn't going to last that long either. However, one more for the chop is Bridget Phillipson. Who's she, Gaunty? Oh, well, she's the education secretary. She is. She's almost a carbon copy of Rachel Reeves, speaks in really small, truncated sentences. But she was on the telly this morning. I saw her on GB News, but she was doing the news round. She was therefore doing every program, breakfast TV, or whatever. And she was giving the government line because Keir Starmer has gone to Rio with 450 liggers to have a lovely few days down in the sun. All right for some, isn't it, eh? Chuck another pensioner on the fire, will you? It's getting cold in here. What do you mean you want to eat? Keep warm, you silly old bat. That's the attitude, isn't it? And they lie. They say they weren't going to do anything to the students and they were not going to do anything on inheritance tax. They weren't going to put up taxes. They put up national insurance to employers, which now means, oh, they gave you a penny off a pint. But the beer's going to go up by a massive amount because it's now going to cost more to employ people. They are liars, every single one of them. Bridget Phillipson, though, she's not clever enough to lie. So she's on this morning. Eamon Holmes is talking to her and Isabel, the woman who does the show with him. And Eamon was just laid back. It was brilliant. It was almost a masterclass. And Isabel was brilliant too. When they're asking her questions, and she was just batting them away, not willing to answer. Oh, well, I can't answer for that. That's the Prime Minister has to answer that. Yeah, but he's not here. Yeah, but it's the Prime Minister. Yeah, but hold on a minute. You're part of the government. The Prime Minister has elected for you to be the spokesman on behalf of the government on all the TV stations, and you're not giving any answers. She was on for about 10 minutes. She never gave one answer. That woman couldn't lie straight in a bed. Adding to that, she's obviously as thick as mince, probably as thick as the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I think we should check out her CV as well. Make sure it's accurate. And while we're at it, the woman with the purple hair. I can't even remember her name. She's such no mark. She's got purple hair. She is in the cabinet. Louise, that's her name. Louise somebody. She's another one who's useless. And then, of course, chief useless amongst them all, Yvette Cooper. Brilliant at being interviewed by her husband in a nice, soft interview on another breakfast channel, GMTV. Did you see that? Ofcom said there was nothing to worry about. Hold on a minute. What? He's the former Chancellor, a former Labour bigwig. He's married to Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, and he's questioning her on a very serious subject. Oh, that's okay. Well, no, it isn't. And that's where we've got to where I'm saying there's such an air of BS around at the moment with this government. And I'm not saying it wasn't there with the Tories. Of course it was. But we need a root and branch revival of British politics. I don't trust any of them. They're all liars. They're all shysters. They're all self-serving pigs with their snouts in the trough. Have you seen the pictures of Starmer on board his aeroplane today? There's a great picture of him. He's all on his own on a white chair with a white desk, and the image is meant to say, it's his personal photographer doing this. Angela Rayner's got one as well. Angela Rayner's got one, but the lens has got that bandit glass on it, so it doesn't work. Oh, that was nasty, Gaunty. Sorry, I'm a misogynist. Stop that. But anyway, Starmer's there looking all serious on his way down to Rio. He's so busy trying to play the big statesman. He should get his lardy arse back here in his paid-for suits, and he should talk to the farmers. Or perhaps he could take time to explain to the pensioners why they're going to freeze and die of the cold. Even by their own number, the Labour government have said 4,000 pensioners will die of the cold this winter. And he's sitting on a plane with 460 odd liggers travelling down to Rio. He disgusts me. Absolutely disgusts me. And if he allows Zelensky now, the Ukraine, to use our weapons, or turns a blind eye to what that senile old crackpot Biden is allowing, then that's it for him. He's got to go. He's got serious questions to answer in this country alone, hasn't he? We do need to know, why were the suits paid for? Why did they all have tickets for Taylor Swift? Why is this stench of hypocrisy? I thought the adults were back in charge. It's like the youth club committee has taken over. In fact, it's almost a bad BBC Three youth type program, isn't it? They're all so excited and drunk on the power. They're coming out with absolute garbage that isn't even funded. She's borrowed all this money. You do realise this. This is just back to Labour tax and spend. We're going to end up in a terrible state. But the worst thing about British politics at the moment is there isn't an alternative. I mean, Farage perhaps, but he's got a long way to go yet, hasn't he? He's got an awful long way to go. Where's our Trump? Where's our person who's got these new ideas? Because, see, people just paint Trump as this moron, maybe based on his first term in office. But by bringing in Kennedy, do you know one of the things that Kennedy's going to do? He's going to take corn syrup out of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola in America is made with corn syrup. Kennedy says that's one of the things that drives obesity and the type 2 epidemic. I agree with him. They don't put it in here, in this country. The amount of additives in American food is outrageous. Kennedy wants to get on top of that. Yes, the BBC love to paint him as a vaccine skeptic, whatever that means, but it doesn't mean he's against all vaccines. He had questions about COVID. I don't necessarily agree with him on that part of it, but I agree with him about taking on Big Pharma with PH and Big Pharma, because that's what's going to happen with an F, because that's what's going to happen in this country. All these small farms will disappear. Bill Gates will be in breeding his insects and opening his solar farms, and we'll all be told you can't eat meat. That's what's happening. I never voted for that. Did you? Did you vote to eat cockroaches? No, you didn't. Did you eat to see our green and pleasant land disappear and become owned by big conglomerates? No, you didn't. Did you want our government of the day, whichever political party, to listen? Yes. Did you want them to give you straight on answers? Yes. See, and that's the thing with Starmer. He makes out that he's Mr. Straight Talking. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to do it for you. This is the way it is. But I don't believe him. I don't believe him because he's got no charisma. I keep saying it. He'll never be a leader while I've got a hole in my underpants. And he's surrounded by the biggest bunch of dullards. Oh, and I've almost forgotten one of them, haven't I? Bernie Winters, Ed Miliband. That lunatic spending 28 billion pounds, on carbon capture, when even top green zealots say it won't work. It hasn't been proven. But on he goes. I see now they're going to try and change the electric vehicle selling requirements because no flipping person is buying them. Why would you buy an electric car at the moment? You might buy a little one, tootling around town, but you wouldn't buy an electric car if you wanted a bit of luxury. I said this the other week. I wouldn't buy a big Audi or a big Jag, would you? You'd be scared stiff it'd run out of charge. People just aren't going to do it. The infrastructure isn't there. Why are we allowing them to do this to us? Why have we allowed them to lie to get in power? Whereas in America now, Trump has told them how it is. And Trump has brought together a coalition. A lot of them are Democrats who want to work with him. And I know it's a cliche, to make America great again. I don't blame him with the tariffs. He's saying we're going to look after American industry first. American manufacturers. If you want to make something in Malaysia and import it in, if you want to do a James Dyson, you're going to pay a load more to make it unattractive because we want you to live and work in America. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? And Trump doesn't want war. Trump wants a situation where he can make money. Well, I'm a bit like that. Does that make me a fascist? Does that make you a fascist? See, I don't think it does. But that's what they want you to believe. They're just liars. Lie after lie after lie after lie. And somehow we've got to find a way of standing up to it and say, we're not having it anymore. We're just not having it. Our politics is completely broken. What is the point in voting if the government just get in every time? Let me just say a big thank you to the people who've supported me in the last few days. Pete Williams, thank you. Steve Witcher, thank you. Bert, thank you. Mark Ingram, thank you. Radio Biff Bob, I love your name. He paid for 3 coffees, 15 quid. Ian Purvis came in with a tenner, thank you. Carl Eves with a $5 again, thank you, Carl. Many times you've contributed. Paul Malloy. Then there's a few anonymous ones. And let me just do these ones for you. Warren Howard, another anonymous one. Kevin Cunning, thank you, Kevin. Stuart Johnson, Grant the cabbie, Heather Davison with 15 quid, 3 coffees, thank you. Elaine Izzo, and it goes on and on. I'll read out some more next time. But if you would like to help me, and it does mean that these things can carry on. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be a need even more than ever for the alternative media. Please go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. Right, until we speak again, I am going to do the one about media. A lot of people are asking me to talk about media and my experience of how they fix the agenda. Maybe do that one tomorrow, although I do want to concentrate on the farmers. And I want to say I 100% support the farmers. We need our small farms in this country. We need them desperately. That's my opinion anyway. So that's tomorrow. I'm going to try and do a podcast every day this week. I think I did 3 or 4 last week. I'm going to try and get into a routine of doing one every day. But if there's no real news, I won't. Mind you, with this bunch of clowns in power, there's plenty to talk about, isn't there? Plenty, plenty, plenty. Well, if we're still here tomorrow, if World War III hasn't kicked off thanks to Joe Biden, yeah, not about him filling his pants. It's making me fill my pants with what he's up to. It's very, very worrying. But until tomorrow, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, 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 don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.